Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ross Patterson Revolution! Brought to you by BlackRifleCoffee.com.
Welcome to a very, very special episode of Ross Patterson Revolution. Boy, we got one of my favorites, my all-time favorites on the show today. I'm talking about New Orleans Saints legend Kyle Turley. Boy, I can't emphasize how excited I am about this. And I'm a diehard Falcons fan. And I'm saying this about a Saint who used to kill us. A Saint that I always wanted on my team, but he never came to Atlanta. He never came to Atlanta. You might remember him from the 2001 incident with the New York Jets when he almost ripped a man's head off of his body during a game and then picked up the helmet and chucked it down the field. Well, I'm here to tell you that there's a lot more to this guy than just the helmet toss. And yeah, that's what they've been calling it, the helmet toss. He is a father. He is a musician. He is an advocate for helping former NFL players with CTE and brain injuries. I'm not going to dance around it. He's also a big advocate for marijuana. The reason being is to get some of these players off of pills and getting them back to leading a normal life without the use of prescription opioids. And I'm going to give him a call here in a second, but as always, we've got some sponsors who pay for this show to be on the air. All these glorious sponsors you see out before me actually keep this show afloat, and I'm unbelievably grateful. First and foremost is our chief sponsor at the top of the show. They're new. All of 2018, I'm talking about BlackRifleCoffee.com. Whew. Black Rifle Coffee is some of the finest coffee in the biz. It is a premium roast to order. That means it comes out fresh right out of the fucking machine, right into a bag, right to your house. They're not rebagging it. They're not buying it from some weird distributor in Iowa out of a barn. That's not true. No, I'm kidding. No, they're making that fresh inside the house, and then they're bagging it up and shipping it across to you. They're veteran owned, which is incredible. And they've got these K-cups. They've got bags if that's your jam. They also got some dope ass apparel. Big fan of BlackRifleCoffee.com. Use the promo code REVOLUTION for 20% off at Black Rifle Coffee. They've also got a coffee club of the month. They're partners with just about every big company in the biz. And if you join this coffee club, this gives you access to some amazing discounts that are not typically being offered by these other companies. And it's just a nice email every 2 weeks of like, hey, oh, shit, you guys are friends with them too. Awesome. I get 20% off? Right on. So go to BlackRifleCoffee.com. Get a subscription month club. Look, Jesse and I have one. I get the caffeinated as fuck. She gets the just black. Use the promo code REVOLUTION for 20% off. Next up, we got StraightRazors.com. Woo! I'm going to dip around here. StraightRazors.com. Best in the biz. Best in the biz as far as shaving kits go, kids. These straight razors are incredible. I use them every single morning. A lot of people ask, Ross, how do you keep it so baby fresh? That's simple. StraightRazors.com. That's how I keep this skin so baby fresh. You shave with these fucking things. It takes about a day and a half off your shaving, which is amazing. Because the blade goes so fine that you don't get a 5 o'clock shadow until like 2 days later. So it's more like a 2-day shadow once you're using StraightRazors.com. They've got some Smolder aftershave. They got which is my favorite. They got some cologne. They got beard oils, mustache waxes. You name it. They got shampoos and conditioners now. You name it. Best in the biz if you're a dude. Go to StraightRazors.com. Type in the promo code Revolution for 20% off. Get yourself a kit. Next up, man, I'm gonna put some in my coffee this morning. I'm gonna boom put a little Strike Force energy in this. A lot of people wouldn't do this. A lot of people would not put Strike Force in their coffee. I feel like I need it. This morning. We're going early. Kyle Turley's a morning riser, if you will. Early bird gets the worm, and Daddy's up a little early. So I'm going to take a couple sips here. Strike Force energy. Get you live. Get you alert. Get you ready for your day. You can kick the can, kids. You don't need the can anymore. You can get rid of Strike Force. You can get rid of Monster, all that shit. You don't need it. You go to strikeforceenergy.com. They got 4 amazing flavors. It comes in these tasty, tiny little boxes right here. $9.95 for these fucking things. Boom. It's a little tasty tin pouch. Rip it open. Pour it in any liquid available. And you are on your way to start the day. Go to strikeforceenergy.com. Type in the promo code REVOLUTION for 20% off. They also have a subscription of the month club, and they ship everywhere in the entire world, which is nice. It's strikeforceenergy.com. Last but not least, we got Led by Iron. They've been a sponsor on the show, and we got some sweet teas. We got some sweet teas by Led by Iron. Look at these. Boom. Finest fitness apparel in the fucking game. Big fans of Led by Iron. And in particular, want to give an amazing shout out to one of their owners, Tyler Rainey, for hooking up this interview today with Kyle Turley. Came through in the clutch. He knew I was a huge fan, and he was like, man, I'm buddies with him. I think I can get him on the show. I was like, you get him on the show. We're showing the show. I'm going to talk about Led by Iron all day long. Big thanks to Tyler Rainey. Big thanks to ledbyiron.com for making this possible. If you're looking for some affordable, form-fitting shirts that are comfortable in the gym, not shit that's baggy, not shit that's going to get caught in a machine, go to ledbyiron.com. They've also got some amazing girls apparel as well, which is fucking rare. Jesse wears this shit all the goddamn time. The Jables is not with us today. We got a blizzard here in Wilmington, North Carolina. We got a whiteout, if you will. And she's taking care of the kiddo outside, and she will be missed. R.I.P. R.I.P. Because I don't know if she's coming back. I don't know if she'll ever one has to ask. When Jables goes out in the snow, she'll make it back. I don't have those answers. But I'm going to throw out an RIP at her just in case, because we don't know. We really don't know with her. And without further ado, I'm going to take one more boom sip of this and give Kyle Turley a call. Man, this is fun. I can't believe he's actually going to come on the show and do this. Seriously, one of my all-time faves in the biz. I'm going to give him a jangle right now. Whew.
Hello.
Kyle.
Yes, sir.
How are you? It's Ross Patterson.
I'm doing well, Ross. Good to talk to you.
Yeah, you as well. When you said call at 6 a.m., I was literally not expecting you to be serious about that, by the way.
Yeah, I'm getting old, man. That's what happens when you get old. You get up early just all the time. It sucks.
Here's the thing. You're not that old.
Yeah, but I played that game, so, it caught me up.
It does. Playing in the NFL, how many years do you say that takes off your life?
I don't know, man. Every day is different. So
yeah, with as hard as you played, Kyle. If you hit 60, it'd be a miracle. It'd be a miracle. You were the toughest son of a bitch I've ever seen out there.
Well, I'm hoping for 60. So that's
yeah.
That's what they say. The average lifespan of an NFL offensive lineman that has been vested, which is only 3.5 years in, is like 55 or something.
You're kidding me. You're kidding me.
No,
man. Like even Charlie Sheen's gonna pass 55, which is crazy to me.
Yeah, I know, man. It's crazy. Well, I think I'll outlast that.
Oh, for sure. Look, you're an animal. I will not put anything
it
past
has
you.
nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with finding the right medicine. That's for sure.
I hear you. Look, I hear you. I've lived in Los Angeles for 17 years, and I found that medicine a long time ago, and I'm a big fan of it.
There you go.
Big fan of it. Yeah. Look, by the way, I'm lucky to hit 60 as well. I went super hard in college. So yeah, we're probably looking 58 for me. 58 for me.
Right on, man. Yeah.
Well, look, I appreciate you being on the show. I'm a huge fan. And at the top of the show, I mentioned not only am I a huge fan, but I'm a diehard Atlanta Falcons fan, and I'm a huge fan of yours.
Uh-oh.
I know.
Yeah, Dirty Bird.
Yeah, Dirty Birds. But you were the one guy I wish we had on our team during those years, because I felt like we were missing that one offensive lineman who was just a badass, who took no prisoners and could absolutely destroy people and also psychologically get in their head. So I always wanted to have you on our team.
So I appreciate that, man. And, that's why I played the game the way I did. I always wanted everybody to want me on their team.
Yeah.
And, those games against the Falcons, man, those were just epic rivalries when I was with the Saints. And, and that's the way I was later told how I was perceived. They had special meetings about me.
Yeah, look, I can only imagine because, as a fan, I had season tickets to the Falcons for years and years and years, but watching you play, like you were the one guy that there wasn't a hatred for. It was just this respect of like, God damn it, why can't he play for us?
Yeah, that was the whole point of it. It wasn't about the teams that I played for. It was about presenting myself as a player in the game and giving back to those fans and having these fans appreciate me and my talent. I knew it's coming out of college, in the NFL, you're going to be bounced around and you're going to not stay with the parity of the league. You don't stay with one team anymore. So, that's a very rare occurrence that can happen. And, so it prepared me really well to, be able to make that transition. I went to St. Louis, had a great reception. I made the fans voted me, for the all-decade team after just playing 1 year for them.
Oh yeah, they love you. Look, yeah, everybody loved you everywhere you went. But I'd love to start from the beginning, if you don't mind. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up out in Southern California after the age of 10. All out west. I was born, raised, so I was about 6 in Utah, and then we moved to Washington State, lived there for about 5 years, and then moved to Southern California. My mother's from Southern California, father's from Arizona, and family's just kind of all out here, out west. And so I grew up in a little town called Moreno Valley, outside Los Angeles, about an hour and a half, in the valley. And,
yep.
A little dirt town and blue collar, and it just raised me, to be who I was.
And you're there today, so obviously you couldn't give it up. Once you live in California, it's kind of hard to live anywhere else.
Oh, for sure. It's you always want to come back here, especially if you grew up enjoying Southern California. With all the opportunities that you have out here with the mountains and the ocean, and just the weather in general is being outside is a constant. And you go back to these other states and everything's just flat and hot or humid and rainy or whatever. It's, California, if you've been here for a lengthy period of time, it's hard to get it out of you, man. You always want to come back.
That's true. It's true. Did you always grow up playing football, or did you surf like everybody else out there?
Yeah, no, I didn't. I grew up surfing, skating, snowboarding, and all these board sports. I started wrestling at a young age, 7th grade, and really committed to that, as I really loved it. And that sustained me sport-wise. That and baseball. I was a good baseball player, but I always wanted to play football. It escaped me my freshman year. I didn't make the grades, and so I couldn't be a freshman football player. And that, then my folks started getting the divorce and everything, and the whole tale of our era. And then it was more skating, more surfing, more time I could spend out of the house. And football was just, I didn't want to go to practice 120-degree heat out here in this valley.
Oh, I hear you. That heat is something special, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, man. But I committed my senior year, and the rest is history.
Yeah, so you played only 1 year of high school football.
Yeah. I was, again, I had a love for it. I had a passion for it. I had a desire to play in the NFL at a real young age. It was just something that really infected me from the first time I saw this game. But for whatever reason, again, it escaped me when I was in farm towns in Washington. We were too small. We didn't even have tackle football. Wasn't even available. It wasn't enough people. And then I came down to Southern California here, and again, I just kind of got lost in the fray of it all, and and being one of five kids, and growing up in Southern California, your dad's a truck driver, and then your folks get divorced and all that. You find your ways to escape all that, and I did, and I was just filled with all the amazing things California has to offer. Me and my buddies would go surfing, skating, and snowboarding, and do all these really cool, fun things that just kept me occupied and allowed me to love this life and take my mind away from all the grind and just all the BS going on growing up a poor kid in the valley. And football, finally came around. At the same time, it was my football team was massive. I mean, our team back then, it's a little different demographic today, and the landscape of football and participants are less, so everybody played football back then. So you had the best athletes playing football, biggest guys playing football, and it was intimidating still. And so I wasn't a big, huge guy. I was a little skinny surfer skate kid. And my senior year, I just said, you know what, I'm big enough now. I feel strong enough. I wrestled long enough. And yeah, let's go do this. At least I'll have some Al Bundy stories to tell the kids when I get old.
Sure. But what I find fascinating about that is there's not many people who can step in and just play 1 year of high school football and then go to college. Did you get a lot of offers after playing just 1 year of high school football?
Yeah, I was real fortunate. I had a great high school coach that before all this recruiting that's out there now, he was ahead of his game. He knew the program. He knew how to get kids to the next level, and getting the scouts there. And the scouts, came to the school, and I was able to be.
Recruited?
To wake up to you. Just went off on my phone there. Sorry.
Oh, that's all right. Don't worry about it.
But it was one of those things, man. It just kind of happened for me.
So was San Diego State the only place that recruited you, or did you get a bunch of offers?
Oh, I'm sorry, but yeah, no, I did. I got a bunch of offers. My coach was this unbelievable recruiter. He had me fill out all these papers and tell him I'd be this weight and I'd bench this much, I'd run this fast. And when they finally came, I did, because he was ahead of his game in training and CrossFit and all these other things hadn't even been invented, and we were doing all that stuff. I hadn't been introduced to a weightlifting program or speed program or anything, and it was something that just kind of caught on with me fast. My frame just accepted it, and I just started building all this muscle naturally, because we didn't have supplementation and all that stuff.
Sure.
There were steroids or whatever, and some of the guys on the team, I don't know, maybe were on that in high school. I don't know. But, it was just food and just eating and my body just being young and full of testosterone and growth hormone and all these things that are natural in you. And it just accepted it, and I just started growing like a weed and, filling out. And when the scouts came, sure enough, I was right where the coach said I would be. And, these guys all started offering me, and I took trips all around the country with schools. The only fallbacks, I didn't prepare for college academically. And so it kept me from getting I probably could have got a full ride to, some of these bigger schools like UCLA or SC or some of these others. I just didn't have the academics. I was going to work at the airlines with my buddies throwing luggage so I could fly around the world and take surf trips for free.
Wow, that's insane. But look, aren't you glad you ended up at San Diego State? I've partied there. That school's a blast.
Yeah, no, I had a great time at San Diego State. Obviously, I maxed out my potential there, and went on to become a first round draft pick and all that. And that was because when I got there, again, my senior year, I was just like, this stuff happened. If I put the work in and the time, I get to San Diego State, I see a guy like Marshall Faulk, and he goes and gets drafted as high as he did, and the Heisman and all these things. And I said, you know what, this little guy did that. I'm like, I could do that, and I just put my mind to it. And I think I could have done that at any school. Probably would have been, more accolades, things like that at the other schools. If I would have went to Iowa State, I took that trip, or Kansas. I canceled that one after San Diego State. I go down there and the sun was shining. And they took me to the beach, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, I can't. Every time I see Kansas football on TV, I'm shocked that they get anyone to play there. It always just looks cold. There's no fans in the stands. Basketball, hey, it's amazing. But football,
no doubt.
Yeah, football. It's just not I don't see it as a football school.
It's good for those schools because there isn't much to do. I look back at it now. I had way too many distractions at San Diego State.
Oh, I'm sure.
And could have really hindered me. We got into some trouble that in this day and age with social media would have never happened for me.
I know. Could you imagine?
In those areas would have been better. Locked away.
Could you imagine if they had social media back when you were in college? Would any player have made it out alive after that? I doubt it. No.
I would have been kicked out. I'd lost my scholarship my freshman year.
Oh, easily. Same. My parents would be shamed. I'd be under a rock somewhere. So you come out of San Diego State. Did you come out early? Or did you graduate? Did you go all four?
I hadn't graduated, but I did go all the way. I maxed out that scholarship, but I actually didn't graduate just because I switched majors. All this stuff you hear about with NCAA athletes and whether we should pay them, this, that, and the other. It's way deeper than that. I don't have a college degree after going to school for 5 years and waking up every damn morning and going to class every day. Because we had to. They made us go to class. Otherwise, we had to run. And I didn't have the opportunity to get my education the way I wanted to, take advantage of the art programs and things like that. The scholarship wouldn't pay for art supplies till I was like a junior or a redshirt sophomore. So into 3 years, I had to take on this general ed, and I declared myself some other, ridiculous major and sit in class and cheat off everybody else like everybody, and just get this degree. And, I was an artist. I took all the art classes for my extracurricular stuff or whatever instead of foreign languages and things. And, so I had to switch majors mid-career college. And so I'm short probably about a year and a half worth of credits to finalize a degree, but I maxed it out. I had an opportunity to go early my junior year into the draft, but just stayed and committed as I was continued to be told by these great coaches and mentors, like, look, you can go do whatever you want. You're an amazing player. You're going to make it. But if you do this, you can achieve this. And I go, okay, great. It switched me from D-line to O-line. You could be a great D-lineman. You could, be the next Howie Long. You could go first-round draft pick probably, blah, blah, blah. But if you switch to the O-line and you get coached by this guy, you could be the best offensive lineman in the country. And that's what I made happen. Out of all the schools in the country, all the SEC schools, everything has, a kid from San Diego State, little surfer skate kid, be a finalist for the Outland Trophy and Lombardi, awards and all these things.
Yeah.
And be the first lineman taken in the NFL draft. I realized that if I stayed my senior year, that's what I could make happen. And I did.
That's incredible. And you were taken seventh, if I remember correctly, right? In the first round?
Yeah, seventh pick overall.
Yeah. So let me ask you, did you get to go to the draft itself Because the draft today is not like it was back then. Were they inviting all the first rounders there to the big show?
Yeah. No, I got the invite to go to New York and all that. They had just kind of started that whole process of, the Big Pony show in New York on Broadway and all that. But, I grew up out in Moreno Valley, man, and I didn't forget where I came from. And I was from San Diego State, and I felt I proved it, and they just, there was still all this speculation after, I achieved all this greatness, and Mel Kiper and all his BS and where he thinks people are going. And, I just didn't want a chance sitting there for no reason. I wanted to be around the people that I, helped me get to where I got and that I was around. So I went back to my mom's house in Moreno Valley and paid for some new sod in the backyard and rented some tables and had the neighborhood over.
That's amazing. Did they bring the camera to the house? Were you one of those guys on camera at the house where they're like, oh my God, there he is. He's partying at his house?
No, just the local paper. That was it.
Really?
The local paper was covering it. It wasn't what it is today.
No,
if I played the game today and accomplished what I did, I probably would have won the Outland Trophy and these other awards because it would have been recognized.
Sure.
Back then, no social media, you just depended on your college to really promote you. And even still today, you look at San Diego State and they didn't promote Rashad Penny like they should have and needed to help him win a Heisman.
Is it because they just don't have the money or they don't have good PR people?
They don't have the brains.
Gotcha.
These people don't have the brains, and people in the NFL don't have the brains. This is my frustration after being behind the curtain of all these things. It's this entire game and this entire system from the NCAA to the NFL is run by morons, guys that are general managers of teams were getting coffee for people when I was playing in the league and never coached football and barely played the game, and they just stuck around and moved their way up because they're yes men.
Yeah, we call it failing upward in Hollywood. I spent 17 years in the Hollywood system, made a ton of movies, and it's the same way where it's like, if they had any talent or brains there, you could do a lot more than what you had. And I feel the same way as with the NFL. I look at Roger Goodell, and that guy's a clown to me.
Yeah, he is. He's like Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah.
These guys, they get this power somehow, and then they all of a sudden, dictate everything and control everything, and they're assholes.
Yeah, and he just signed a new $50 million a year deal, and it's crazy how that guy just keeps on going somehow.
Yeah, it's just he's a puppet at the end of the day. He's I think a lawyer maybe. His family, his background comes from politics. He was groomed for this by Pete Rozelle. Again, he was a guy getting coffee, got an opportunity. Oh, I can be in the NFL. I can get coffee for Pete Rozelle and trail him around for I don't know how long and keep my nose down here and, I'll end up getting the big payday at the end. And that's what he's got.
Yeah.
That's what all these guys got. He's college coaches. This guy going to A&M or something like that for some ridiculous $70 million coaching college football.
Yeah.
And they're talking about tuition cuts and they're talking about whether or not we should pay college players. Give me a break.
Yeah, it's Jimbo Fisher who ended up taking that gig, and the coach of Florida State. He's making $1 gajillion. I'm a Big Ten guy. I graduated from Ohio State, and I see it in our conference with Jim Harbaugh, where Jim Harbaugh's the highest paid coach in our conference. He finished 8-5 this year and lost in the Outback Bowl. And he's making $9 million a year, and it's like, man, why isn't some of this money going to the players?
It's all hype. It's all hype. It's all, and, putting people in the stands and TV contracts. And how's that going to, who's your coach is going to better you? Look at the Raiders. They're going to hire John Gruden. He's washed up, man. That's why he's been doing TV for so damn long.
It's been over a decade. He's been on TV.
Yeah, and now he's going to just jump back into being the head coach of the Raiders when there's all these guys that have played the game for a long time, that have worked their ass off being coaches, and they just don't ever get these opportunities because it's just about a hype deal, with this. You've seen what could happen by putting a nobody in the system. Look at the Rams.
Yeah.
Come on.
And
You don't need John Gruden. You need a good coach.
You do.
And, he's a good coach. But it's been a long time, man. These young guys, they'll be starstruck and they'll say a lot of things and, put some people in the stands and do the whole Chucky deal all over again and, milk that for all it's worth. But at the end of the day, again, it's not about the game. It's not about the players. It's just this show. This is a production. And, once you realize that's, where you get involved, if you do, in these other fights as a player who's passionate about the game and making it better, it's expose all that. And everybody goes, oh, you should shut your mouth. You're getting paid millions of dollars, and you're like, all right, well, okay, you want to ruin football. There you go.
Yeah.
You can have it. And that's what's happened,
Yeah, I feel in the John Gruden situation, at least for the hiring of him, because the rumor has it they're going to give him a piece of the team and ownership as well. I think for that transition from Oakland to Vegas, they want a celebrity on the sidelines to make it sexy, sell some season tickets, give it a couple years, and then try to find a real coach in 2 or 3 years is my guess.
Yeah, Vegas is going to be like it's just going to be like Vegas. You can John Gruden, he's fucking Celine Dion, right? He's going to have his stay in Vegas, and then they're going to hire John Madden's going to come back and for his stay, and they're going to bring the whole show around.
Yeah. Mike Martz will be after that. I mean, they'll just keep lining them up across the board.
Yeah. The greatest coaches of all time in Vegas.
In Vegas. Yeah. There's going to be a hologram Tupac on the sidelines.
No, totally. For halftime presentations, coming back, everything.
Britney Spears will be lip syncing every halftime show. No, it's a spectacle. And look, I'll say this: I'll go just because I go to Vegas 2 or 3 times a year. I enjoy it. And I'll go to check out a game just for the spectacle of it, and I think a lot of people will too. Look, it could be a smart business move. It could be a smart business move.
Awesome.
But
I think it's awesome. It's awesome for the league. It's awesome for football. Again, I'm going back to just the fans. I guess maybe there is something to all that hype and everything, but it's the Raiders. The Raiders, the fans are like me. The fans are like you. It's not about John Gruden. These people in control of how the game is presented, they fail to see what it has always been about. It's always been about its past and its present with its players and the logo and these colors. And that's what it is for the fans. You can put whoever you want on the sideline and play a Raider game, and the Raider Nation's showing up.
Yeah. Yep.
It just blows my mind how they go out of their way to pay these, like the guy at A&M. Like, why are they pay that coach all that money? What's he going to do? What's he really going to do?
Yeah, especially in a conference with Nick Saban and look, Georgia looks amazing coming up. Since we're talking about that, who do you got in this SEC championship? Is what I'm calling it. I'm not calling it a national championship. I'm calling it an SEC championship.
Well, I don't know. I think I got to go with Bama on this one, just because I hate that. But
same.
I have enough friends that love Bama, I can go with it. It's just because they finally have this mentality of being put in a corner. They got to fight out, and they have the best talent in the country. So I just gotta, what happened in the last game. I mean, they were just dominated, So
yeah, and I hate it. I hate watching their style of play. It's like watching Mike Glennon as quarterback in the NFL, where I'm so bored watching Alabama play football. I recognize their greatness, but to me, they're just so boring to watch. I can't stand it.
Oh yeah, totally, man. It's not explosive. It's not.
No.
It's just you're kind of watching this machine because again, they have all the best talent in the country now. You got all the coaches are West Coast coaches are bringing all this talent from out west. These receivers, all these people all around the country. And you get an offer to go. I'm working with a kid at this facility I'm training at, working at in Southern California here, and he's got offered from Alabama. Like that wouldn't happen. Years ago.
Sure.
Now where we've come from and how big Alabama and how awesome it is to go there. It's always been, I guess, but for West Coast kids to be going there over SC and UCLA, that's just crazy.
Yeah, it's a different world, and now that the college playoff system is intact, you're seeing these games on a level. I mean, the ratings for that Oklahoma Georgia game were so massive. You're starting to venture into NFL playoff ratings there, and that's all these kids see, and it's all lit up on social media, and it's like, man, I want to play on that stage underneath those lights, and you're able to get kids from all over the country, which, like you talked about, you could never do that 15 years ago. That just didn't exist. That kind of outlet for it. I'm excited to see it. And then we got the NFL playoffs coming up this weekend. Are you still a diehard Saints fan? Do you still root for your?
Oh yeah.
Okay. And that's
once you're a Saint, you're a Saint.
Yeah.
And if you played it as long as I did in the town, you get that 5 years in at least. You become. I'd go back there right now and probably run for mayor and win.
Oh yeah, I think you easily would. I think it wouldn't even be close, and especially in the day of social media, I think you would crush if you went back and ran for mayor.
And it's just one of those places. As a fan base, you just it was just an unbelievable experience as a player to play in that fan base. And I went to 2 other teams and just didn't experience anything like it. Kansas City was close. Those people are pretty diehard up there. But that place is a transient kind of town.
Right.
They're in the Midwest. New Orleans is old. Everybody's there. They've been there. Their family's there. Their brother, their sister, their cousin, their grandma, their great-grandma, their great-great-grandma, if they're hanging on. They're all Hoodats.
Oh, yeah, all of them.
It's a pretty special place.
Yeah, so this is one of the rare years where we have the Falcons and the Saints in the playoffs. Me personally, I actually think this is the Saints' year out of the NFC. I would have said Philadelphia if Carson Wentz hadn't have gone down, but I'm going to give the edge with that running game in New Orleans. I think they're going to the Super Bowl this year.
They got a great chance. Obviously, both teams, you've got experience with that, making it to the Super Bowl. And with the Saints, you've got the experience of winning one, and especially at the key positions that you need to have that experience in the quarterback and the head coach. And, the rest of the staff has been mixed up a bit. But when you have those two things going into the playoffs, the Super Bowl is a definite likelihood. And, for the Falcons and the Saints, the Panthers, the NFC South just dominated the league. And, they seem to be the best teams overall in watching the play of the league as it was this year. It'll be awesome, man. I think it's going to come down to the Rams and the Saints, personally.
I did too.
Those 3 teams,
The Falcons, to me, once they lost their offensive coordinator, they just can't find a rhythm this year. We look good some weeks. Other weeks, we look like the worst team in the league.
I don't know what it is with Atlanta, man. They've always kind of done that. Even the last time they went to the Super Bowl, before the last time, back in '98.
Yep. We played
back there.
Yeah, we played the Denver Broncos. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, we got here kind of thing. It wasn't like we're going to win it. We're going to take this.
Yeah.
Even in the Super Bowl last year, it was like, we got this big lead, but there was never any feeling of confidence, it seemed, on that sideline at all. I knew you're going against the Patriots. I understand that. But, there was never anything that looked to me like we're going to put the hammer down on you right now. This confidence, this swagger. And it just looks like, oh, my gosh, we're here? Really?
Yeah.
And I think hopefully they're over that because, Matt Ryan, he's proved to be the quarterback that everybody thought that he could be. He's taken an unbelievable turn this last couple of years of his career and leadership, and just being a presence, and demanding that the players and everybody, follow. And for too long they were just having mediocre success on his talent, and now it's personal. I think he's been there. He's hungry again. I wouldn't put it past the Falcons being there again. But again, like you said, the coaching issues are in that department are of question. So,
Yeah, Steve Sarkisian is our offensive coordinator. To put it in perspective, he was Alabama's offensive coordinator. And again, Alabama's the least exciting offense of all time. So when he came in, boy, we've looked. It's real spotty this year. Real spotty. Who do you got coming out of the AFC, by the way?
AFC, man, shoot. Obviously the Patriots.
Again?
It's like, the Patriots, of course. The Chiefs, we'll see. Again, like Atlanta.
I'm gonna slide the Steelers in there. So I'm gonna slide.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say Saints Steelers Super Bowl.
Ooh, the black and gold. That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
black and gold Super Bowl would be killer.
That's my call. I think finally the Steelers get over the hump this year and beat Tom Brady. And I think Le'Veon Bell and all those offensive weapons, if Antonio Brown comes back healthy, I think they sneak in this year, and this might be their year.
Yeah, maybe, man. Roethlisberger's, he's primed, and he's been there as well. Again, he's got experience. So they can stay healthy in that whole James Harrison deal. That's kind of ugly for him.
Beat
the Patriots because that guy's still dangerous. So we'll see what happens with that, hopefully. But I like the Steelers a lot as well, AFC wise. But again, the Patriots, they're just going to keep going.
I know. It's a machine. It's a machine over there.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Who was the toughest guy you played against in your career?
Toughest guy. I came in a unique era, I think. The late 90s was still transitioning out of all those. My first game, preseason game in Lambeau Field against Reggie White.
No way. That was your first game ever?
Preseason, yeah.
Oh, boy. How was that?
Thank God. And, but it's like, I came in this really unique era. Troy Aikman and Steve Young and all these guys are still the quarterbacks, and John Elway. And, I went to take my trip to Miami, as they trip you around if you're going to be a first rounder, top 10. And I get to meet Dan Marino sitting in his locker in the locker room, just coming off the field from a workout, and telling me, it'd be great to have you. I've heard a lot about you, kid. You're like, just crazy movie shit,
Yeah.
That guys are just dreaming about. And so I played against all these amazing guys, from Kevin Green to Bruce Smith and Reggie White and Leon Lund, and, on and on. And then the new era of cats that came in with Javon Curse and Dwight Freeney.
Yeah.
Yeah, all these guys, man. I remember blocking all those guys, and even in the game today, guys that are still hanging around like Terrell Suggs, he came in. And so I played against some amazing talent over a 10-year span in that career, and it was just 109 games I think overall total. And I can't say, for Michael Strahan, maybe, I guess.
Okay, look,
overall.
Strahan's legit. I'm surprised to see him hosting the Today Show, but NFL-wise, he was great. As a talk show host, not so much to me. Not so much to me.
No, he fixed his teeth, and
It's crazy. His mouth is a walking field goal.
I just wouldn't want to stand anywhere close to it. I remember playing in front of him, and the spray coming out of that mouth was with those teeth.
Yeah, it's man. He definitely did not get that gap fixed. He's still rocking the gap.
Yeah, you got to own it, man. You know?
Good for him. Good for him.
Yeah.
Now, look, obviously, I couldn't not bring up the helmet toss incident today, and I'm sure you're tired of talking about it at this point, or are you? That's the question. Because a lot of people,
not at all. No, not at all.
Yeah, a lot of people remember you for that. I remember it for a different reason. I was watching that game live on TV, and I'm a big fantasy football guy. My best friend in the league he was trying to get into the playoffs. He had the running back for the Saints at the time, and he was hoping that guy would score and he would have gone to the playoffs. once that penalty incurred and you guys did not score, it was forever known as the Turley incident in our fantasy football league. The young man's name was Dylan Drew, and to this day, he still brings up the Turley incident in every single fantasy football league
Awesome.
that we have. When you were going through that, it appeared to me when I was watching it that you were trying to rip his head clean off his body. Would that be a fair assessment?
Yeah, pretty much. I didn't mind if his head came with it, from what was going on. I mean, it was, we were banging it out the whole game, and then it was pretty dirty, on both sides. We were just getting after it, and then that happened, and I just lost it. It was one of those moments towards the end of the game, and it was just a weird moment, and it just happened, and you make a decision to do something, and you go, wait, what did I just do? It's all that emotion and that football, man. It's that game, that brain. We get messed up, and we make bad decisions, and become irrational. So that's what I did, man. And but it was in the right context of defense of a teammate, and so it's got this fine line that I can ride and feel good about, and frustrated about, and I wonder what would have happened if I hadn't, kind of thing.
I think it was a good.
Glad it did.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it's a good thing. Like you became massively famous after that, and I remember you can tell me, you can correct me on this, but didn't the fans actually pay your fine? Was that true?
No, the fans didn't. No,
they didn't. Because there was an article online after it came out that said from a bunch of fans who said they were going to try to get together and pay your fine at the time.
Oh, they might have. They may have. I mean, the fans down there are good, man. They're just awesome.
Yeah, and they didn't have like Indiegogo or GoFundMe at that point. But
that's the problem. I gained all this notoriety and fame all of a sudden, but it wasn't worth the shit because there was no social media. I mean, if I was in the league today and that happened and got on TV and did all these things, I'd have 1 million followers, and now
Yeah, you'd make more off of social media than you probably did in the NFL today. Some of these guys, it's insane.
They do, and it's actually something that like these coaches, is a factor when it comes into signing guys and hiring guys. What's this platform going to do for us?
How can he sell tickets?
Merch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Selling tickets and merch.
Absolutely. Speaking of selling merch, what's your stance on the whole Colin Kaepernick issue and players kneeling?
That's a good segue. Speaking of selling merch,
yeah. Well, look, Kaepernick's jersey ended up going #1 after that. So he was.
Did it really?
It did, yeah. So
wow.
he sold more jerseys than anyone, and then got essentially blacklisted after that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous. I think he should be on a team. There's such less talent out there that's in the league. I mean, again, he's proven himself as a player. He's proven himself as a team leader. Whether you like what he's leading about or not, he's got the entire league following him, of the majority of your players.
Yeah,
and because it's not what it used to be. You good old boy dumbasses. If you haven't woke up yet, what bought your new jet, your new yacht was all these guys with that dark skin, and they're trying to say something here. And you need to listen, and it's not easy, I guess, as for ththese old white guys with all this money, that was handed down to them from their daddies, majority of them, or their in-laws, or, whoever got them, that start to becoming a billionaire, because it didn't happen for these guys from the ground up, like Mark Cuban or,
Sure.
whatever. Every one of these guys, for the most part, has been gifted their opportunity and just rode this train here, this magic train, this magic carpet ride in the NFL, in this game, and it's about this game, and not about that. But, fortunately, these owners, man, I don't get it. They're a bunch of pussies. They don't want to stand up for the things that are most important for the game. They care more about ratings and their money. And, this is their because they got industry, they got big industry, they're making billions. This is their, screw off money, for their jets and their planes and their boats. And, you go to an owners meeting and go to the private airport at the owners meeting. It's gross. It's sickening. The waste and all the money and everything. And these guys, want to sit there and play politics with a guy like Colin Kaepernick, who has achieved this greatness to play this game and is an unbelievable player and can help your team win. And you're not willing to listen. That's just and just pass that off and go, you know what, man, we're going to support these guys, and this guy deserves a job. One
Sure.
of these owners out there could do that, and not one of them is doing it. And it's got to be from behind closed doors at these meetings where they've all agreed to not do it.
Yeah, my biggest issue with it as a fan is there is enough politics jammed in my face all day long, 6 days out of the week, that on Sundays, me personally, I want to go to the game for entertainment reasons and not think about anything politically. And I also think about it from the stance of just in my line of work in production. If somebody did something on the job like that would affect investors or money or anything else, regarding movies in this situation, I would be like, hey, man, I think there might be a better way. Like, for me personally, I think if the league really wanted Colin Kaepernick in, instead of protesting, maybe just take a Sunday off and go up to the White House. I think Trump would open the door for the NFL players and talk to them. And I think if you sat out an entire Sunday and did that, you would have a bigger effect than maybe doing it for 2 years on the sidelines.
Yeah, man. I'm a bit more. I grew up in the locker room, man, and so I grew up son of a truck driver, 5 kids, so I don't understand this white privilege thing to the extent of maybe it's got me out of a few parking tickets and, looked over and getting pulled over maybe in certain situations. But, overall, I've seen athlete privilege more so and who I am as an athlete.
Sure.
But I get it. I get what they're saying. I get what they're talking about. I get that there is race issues, and to just kind of not get that, I don't understand. I don't understand how you don't get that. I don't understand how you don't understand why they're kneeling. I don't understand how. I guess again, that's because I grew up in the locker room. These are my brothers. These are people that we don't need to take a day to go up to see that dumbass and his orange face. We need to support our guys and give him the finger and not allow Mike Pence to come into an NFL game and turn his fucking back on it and walk out like a bitch.
Yeah.
I'm so upset about this stuff. I get pretty emotional about it.
No, it's fine.
Because these guys are just playing politics with this game, and this game is America, and they can go fuck off. And it was built on the backs of these players, and they got something to say, and it goes deeper into our society and what people need to realize. This isn't a black issue. This is a police issue, a brutality issue, and what's going on here. We got a kid we're stringing up now in the media because he made a phone call to prank somebody, and they went to that guy's house and they shot and killed him. Like, what the fuck's going on at the police department where we know whether or not we need to use that force? My dad is a retired police chief, and he busted his ass and he worked real hard, and he retired, being disgruntled because of what he saw, in that these cops aren't willing to go talk to these motherfuckers. They just want to shoot their guns.
Right.
My dad will show up at the drug dealer's house and knock on his fucking door and say, listen, we got to work this out, know?
Right.
And in situations where there's, all this stuff, and we're just so quick to pull the trigger and just say, you get in line. Like we're becoming a very fascist country. And there's a lot of truth to that. We want to wave this flag around and these colors around. Well, there's a lot of people that are doing that and getting too proud about it. Too proud, this is yours. I got it tattooed on my arm. I put it in blood, and it means a lot to me. The sacrifices that have been made and all that, but we're not honoring those sacrifices when we don't honor the right of a player to express a social injustice reality that's going on by taking a knee at a game and using that platform to do so. On the other hand, our government is taking full advantage of using that platform to promote the military and wars and all these things, and generating this energy to go and support this desire. I mean, you talk to people and they go, when we're at war, and they go, "Oh, we love George Bush or we love Bill Clinton or whoever it is, Democrat or Republican, when we're in a war. He took us to war." Like, when are we going to get over this? I don't understand this whole mindset of needing to war, whether it's, because you don't want to listen to what some people have to say because you don't look like them and you didn't live their life and you don't understand what they're talking about, to dropping bombs and, all this ridiculous rhetoric going on about, nuclear buttons that at the end of the day, we've had examples of in our history that cost millions of innocent lives.
Sure, absolutely. And look, it's a strange political climate we're in, especially with everything that's going on in the world. There's protests in Iran right now.
When is there not?
Yeah. There's
we got to get over this shit, man. We got to get over. We got to take pride in our country, take pride in our differences, take pride in what everybody's got to say, and get over it, man. And try to fix the things that we know are there. All these people just continuing to ignore because it's not at their front door.
Right. Well, look, I think the NFL thing, as far as the kneeling goes, is definitely now at people's front doors, and people are making a decision one way or the other how they feel about it. And
but it stops right at the flagpole.
Yeah,
that's where it stops. It's whether you're flying the flag or not, and that's where it is. It's this flag. This flag. Well, guess what? This flag originally was made on hemp, and our forefathers told us that we needed to grow that everywhere, and this government's taken that away from us, and it's given us a bunch of pills and killed millions of Americans. We've got a president who supports guys like Richard Spencer, a fucking Nazi. I mean, this is, and all these guys with their tiki torches out there and saying there's good people on both sides. Yeah, there's something going on, and there's support on that on both aisles. It's not just our president.
Oh, sure.
He's the line. He's been a Democrat. He's been a Republican. He speaks for all of them. I've been to D.C. and I've seen what's going on. And I lobby for cannabis and what it can do to help save people and what it's done for me to save my life. And these people still look at this and look at me and go, and talk to me as if they know what they're talking about, what they're for. We're for Charlotte's Web, and we're like, oh, really? You're for Charlotte's Web, the thing you saw on CNN. Like, you're not for what is curing seizures in little children, what has saved my life in this THC factor of finding strains and all these things. From that to Colin Kaepernick to kneeling to the issues we're having in our streets and around the world, it's just this constant battle of knowledge versus ignorance. And unfortunately, it seems to be that this ignorance is, I've been to D.C., like I said, man, it is ego-driven. And you only need a few votes to get these positions of power. And obviously, you can become the president without them. Or you only need those few that he got. And I'm not for Hillary Clinton by any means, or one side or the other. I think it's all a facade myself, and I live my life by the words of our great first president, who didn't want to be president, who said this country didn't need a president. This country needed to be free.
God damn it, I love it. This is a freedom flowing out of your veins right now.
Man, I was born and raised to it, man. My dad is, again, a truck driver and a farmer. I accomplished greatness. I understand hard work, and my family's helped, pave the way for this country. I grew up Mormon. My whole family goes back. My great-great-great-grandfather was a bodyguard to Joseph Smith, got killed because of it. Paved the way to the West with the rest of my relatives' names that are on all these placards and all these Mormon battalion places in Arizona and California. And I just have an unbelievable pride for this country. And unfortunately, I'm just an athlete, and my words will get lost after we talk about the helmet again.
Well, let me ask you about the ratings then. What do you think is affecting the NFL ratings? Do you think it's the kneeling, or do you think it's the style of play that Goodell is kind of hammered home, where you can't have fun anymore, essentially? Like when you were playing, I felt like you could still have fun. You had guys like Terrell Owens, who were celebrating. You had guys like you who were feisty, fiery personalities. I don't feel like there is that anymore, and I feel like it's because of Goodell. But you could shed some more light onto to why you think the ratings are down.
I don't honestly. I just think the ratings aren't worse. Fan attendance and ratings could potentially be down from, I guess, where the population is. But the NFL still, the things I've read, are the number one shows on TV.
Oh yeah, they are.
I think just there's too many choices. There's too many distractions. It's like having and then fantasy football and all these things. Everybody's more interested in watching sports mix on TV than watching a particular game, and going to that channel. They're going to watch the channel with 6 different, games on, and maybe 10 if they got multiple TVs, because they got these fantasy leagues on. There's just too many distractions, I think, personally, and everybody's on their phone on Instagram or doing their own deal and promoting their own business, and they don't have time anymore. But it's still there. It's still the number one thing to watch.
Yeah. It is the number one rated sport to watch, and it still crushes everything in the ratings. We've just evolved.
I think X Games, all these things have come. UFC, all these. There's so many more opportunities in sports television now that we didn't have. You had they didn't have the production. They didn't have all these other sporting events taking kids' attention. And now you do. You got a million channels and all these things going on. What do you're knocking the NFL for still being number one because they're down, I guess, from where
they used to be,
should be for the population, because it's still making bajillions of dollars. Look at the salaries of the coaches.
Yeah.
Look at all these. It's not going anywhere. And becoming a potential ghetto sport of, a way out sport, as people have, said it's becoming, in the death of football as we know it, and just becoming a money grab game because of, them not addressing the concussion issue the way they should be, and really just standing behind the game. It's making billions and billions and billions of dollars. People love. America has proven it. Society has proven over its history.
For sure.
The history of mankind, that when we look at sports, we want to see blood. And that's why the UFC has grown to the size that it has. And that's why the NFL is never going away. It may become just a blood sport at some point, but that's only because the leadership and people in charge, neglect how to really resolve all these issues, because they just it means money to them.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point. Like, as far as the violence in the game, some have said that's why some of the ratings might be down. In particular, that Steelers-Cincinnati game a couple weeks back, where Ryan Shazier went down. There was, I believe, 3 people carted off in that game. Me personally, having spent 17 years in Los Angeles, and you could attest to this because you have kids as well. What I noticed in Los Angeles, at least, is they've almost taken pads away from kids, and all of the parents are putting their kids in flag football in Los Angeles, at least. Are you? Would you allow your kid to play football growing up? Knowing what you know now. Yeah, knowing what you know now.
No, not tackle football. No, they don't need to play that. They can learn the game. You can teach this game. Again, I didn't play till I was a senior in high school. I had a passion for this game. I love for this game because of being able to take a ball out into the park with my buddies and just playing tag. there's nothing about this game that these little kids need to understand more so at their young ages than the game itself, how these players are run, how to run routes, how to block, how to do these things. These kids aren't ready after just one training camp to do all this with their little frames. And we've seen a death rate in the youth football leagues that is, in my opinion, it should be for everyone, unacceptable. We've got 10 to 20 kids that die in youth football every year. It's a constant. And it's only because of these stupid things that we can totally fix with the time of year that we participate in this sport, where it's 150 million degrees outside, and we put all these pads and gear in our gloves and our feet, and we cover every outlet for heat to escape. And we, from the little kids to the NFL, we go through the hardest parts of this sport at the stupidest time, to dealing with the concussion issue and understanding that these kids don't need to be banging their heads like this. They need to understand the game, the fundamentals of it, how to move their body. Again, I didn't play football because I wasn't, it was the concussion thing out there. Part of my reason for not playing, I wasn't big enough. As I mentioned, I didn't feel strong enough. And I saw my friends out there getting broken arms and legs and, blowing their knees out. And I'm like, man, this sport is serious. I gotta be ready when I go to play this game. I need to be confident that I'm ready to go. And my senior year came around and I felt ready enough to play high school football. Got to college, realized I need to keep in this weight room. I need to keep getting bigger, stronger, and faster if I'm going to survive this game. And then into the NFL, even more so. So, I don't think youth football should be tackled until high school.
Okay.
These kids are getting beat to death for no reason. 90% of these kids aren't going to make it to college football. And all you're doing is beating their brains around. Because you look at the things that these kids can do with those pads on at that age, and all they can do is beat their brains around. You got very few. They got some kids that are really skilled. Yeah, but you've been to, I don't know if you got kids, but
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. You go to youth sports, maybe there's one kid on the team that knows what the hell he's doing.
Yeah.
That's just not fair, and that's let's play flag. Let's let that kid run around and make everybody miss his flags. And, the other kids come along, because everybody knows has played this game in youth football, and what I've seen, and I've coached and I've done run camps. You're just banging. You're just beating yourself out there. You're damaging your brain. We don't need to do that. The science has clearly been defined, and how the development of young brains and where they're at in certain stages, and how important it is, and not only that, in the spinal column, because it's not just the brain issue and the 10 to 20 deaths from head injuries. It's another 10 to 20. You've got 40 families in youth football every year that are suffering either a death or a permanent spinal injury that is putting their young athlete, their child, it's changed their life forever. And
sure.
That doesn't need to happen, because those things don't happen in college football. And again, we just have one Shazier, and I can tell you why that happened. Previous play, and these coaches and these trainers, what are they doing? They got a secret tent on the sidelines, and obviously,
they didn't have that when you played. They didn't have that blue medical tent on the sidelines of every game when you played. No,
because they could pull the needle out on the sideline and nobody gave a damn, so they got to have a tent so they can pull out that needle. Why do you need a tent? Is the guy taking off his clothes? Yeah. What's happening in there? I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Every time I see a player go on in the tent, I'm like, what's going on in there? Is there two strippers, or is there doctors with needles? Like, you tell me what's going on in that tent. It's a big tent too.
Yeah, I know. Well, what's his name? The Seattle quarterback exposed it. He just lifted it up off of himself and walked back out there. There's nothing.
Yeah, Russell Wilson. Yeah.
Yeah, they got a tent out there with the medical people's logos on it. If you look at it, and that's what's on those. It's a promotional deal for these medical doctors to promote their practices.
Yeah,
And,
no, it's true.
and that's what it is.
Yeah.
Because they're not doing anything, and they shouldn't have that there. That's that you're being pretty shady with putting up a tent. Pun intended. It is ridiculous, and I can tell you that they just want to put up a tent. And you watch Shazier, and prior to that injury, he makes a big hit on the series before that.
Yep.
Puts another guy down himself, and then he's running around, jumping up and down, acting like a crazy fool after that. If you watch the replay of that first initial hit, and you could tell that he damaged himself not only the spine, but because he led with his helmet on that tackle also, but he likely had a massive concussion. And then he did it, again, and his spine, boom, that was it. But as a person sitting on the couch, I heard about this, watched it, and because I came into my wife was like, this guy got his neck broke or whatever. So I looked at rewound the game.
Right.
And I went back to the original hit. I'm like, ooh, wow, that's a bad hit. That's what hurt him. I'm like, no, he's jumping around. He's like, the other guy's down. And she's like, no, that's not the hit. It's coming up. I'm like, well, the trainer should have been on him right there, because I can see that clearly, that this guy was injured himself from the hit. They're so far behind. These doctors have no clue. I've saved so many people with cannabis extractions like CBD with no psychoactivity that the league should be implementing right now. You wouldn't have Luke Kuechly crying on the field every time he hit somebody now.
Yeah, that was insane. That was an insane thing to
it's
see.
Still happening.
Would you say
happening.
that you have CTE from playing the game?
Oh, I have CTE. 100%. Every one of us does. Every person that's played this game. I've been privileged, I guess, in a way, to have this information, and I've tracked this thing down. I've gone back to Boston. I've gone to meet with these doctors, from Benedict Omalu to Ann McKee, Robert Cantu, and all these people involved in this discussion. I've been privy to all the information, and this happens. That's why youth football shouldn't be played tackle.
Is it as bad as it seems? Because you hear about it. Look, Will Smith made a movie about it, for Christ's sakes. Is it really as bad as it seems? Okay.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, from myself, I deal with. It's a struggle. Dealing with this disease, I think my brain is probably, in the doctors I've talked to, I am dealing with a brain. I've been diagnosed with pre-onset Alzheimer's disease. I've gone through all the tests with the concussion protocol. I can say that, and give that information. I mean, I'm living with Alzheimer's disease at 42.
Man.
And that's been diagnosed, so when you're at this stage, things start failing. I mean, I can articulate and I can talk well about certain things, but if I don't maintain my brain with the things that I've discovered and being able to do that, it's not a good place. And all my friends and all my brothers that are playing this game are the same way, and it is very, very real. And those of us who played it the longest are having the worst issues, but those who have had the significant concussions over their careers are dealing with it even at younger ages. And these youth football kids, I mean, there's a suicide rate attached to that, a death rate attached to it, all these things. It's very real. The media doesn't want to continue to expose it. That's why you haven't really heard about it. We did a movie. Will Smith, Smith. Oh, we already went through that. Oh, it's all fixed now. They gave the players a bunch of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay now. Money fixes everything. Meantime, people don't realize that nobody got any money, and this disease is progressive, very progressive, and I'm quite
affected by it.
Yeah, disturbed at my future. It's very, depressing and stressful to know that things are going in a direction where, before Will Smith made his movie, there was other movies that were made to push that along.
Sure.
And you got to see guys that were in these stages of Alzheimer's in their 60s, and that scares the shit out of me, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and before we get out of here, this is look. I appreciate you spending all this time with us. I saw a Vice documentary about you're now unbelievably passionate about the use of cannabis as a way to treat CTE. If you could tell the audience about that, that would be fantastic.
Well, I've been telling everybody about it, man. I just think ultimately I'm going to have to prove it, and I believe firmly in what I've found in cannabis in dealing with this disease. I mean, it's changed my life. It's allowed me to get my life back. I was on a very, very fast downward spiral post-career because of it, and I had neurological issues that were affecting my life during my playing career. Episodes of vertigo and extreme migraine headaches were constant. I didn't know where that was coming from or why. And they never, bothered to test me in my brain and see about that. I wonder why. They tested me for everything else. And I was a 100% healthy human. They drafted me as a first-round draft pick. Obviously, I proved myself to be worthy of that. They put you through the ringer. To have exited and then continued to have these issues, health-wise has been I've been hospitalized. I've spent time in the ER. I've had seizures. I've, depression to no end, rage, all these things, uncontrollable. My life out of control. Couldn't go to McDonald's with my kids. Couldn't be in public, in certain settings. And now I'm fine. Honestly,
That's incredible.
I've found certain strains of marijuana that, and the THC side, that are unbelievable psych medications, and they don't sedate you. They give you energy. No one knows I'm high. I'm not high. I'm way less high than I was on Vicodin and Percocets and all these other drugs that they were pumping into me, and all the psych meds and Wellbutrin and Depakote and Zoloft and these zombie drugs that I was on for 6 years post-career, because I started having all these issues neurologically and going into these doctors. They just want to give you these pills. And I came to California 3 years ago and said, this is my last chance. And it gave me my life back. I can't deny it. And the things I've experienced since, and the way that this is evolving with medicine and extractions and all these things that are unbelievable, painkillers and anti-inflammatories and psych medications, and just dealing with this brain injury and this stress, and just the stress of life, which is magnified 100-fold because of this injury. I'm 42, walking around with an 82, 85-year-old man's Alzheimer's brain, pissed off at the world, and the littlest thing will make me snap on you and put you in your place. And that's no fun. And it was a miserable existence. And I don't do any of that anymore, man. And I love life, and I'm coaching, and I'm back with my family. And I have a beautiful wife and little kids. And that it gave me that back. And, those Vice series that you watch, that shit is real. Okay. And that allows me the ability to stand in any platform. Again, I've been to Washington and spoke about this. I've spoke at Harvard about this. I've spoke at Tulane. These are things I'm talking about that will have unbelievable implications on not just football and this disease, but our health as humans around the world. Cannabis can resolve these things. It was resolving these issues. The government knows these things. They've put patents on cannabis for things like neuroprotection, and while they're telling everybody it makes you dumb. And what I've experienced is undeniable. So I have to speak my truth because I know that our problem is very real in our community, and what it's done for me can help everyone.
Yeah, and so you're 100% off of any other drugs, and you're just strictly cannabis.
I take 0 pills. I have
That's
plates
amazing.
and screws. I need knee replacements, hip replacements, and more back surgeries, more shoulder surgery. I got as much pain as you could possibly have and a bad brain, and I take 0 pills, not one aspirin, not one Aleve. I use my regimen of cannabis daily, and that is it. I don't even take supplements anymore. I eat better food. I focus on my diet and nutrition. Because I got to the point where I couldn't even take protein shakes anymore without getting severe headaches because of the other chemicals that are involved in this, and having a hypersensitive brain because of it being so damaged. Just really made me so sensitive to everything. And now that I've gotten off all those pills and all those things, my body's recovering. I realized I never needed any of them. I never needed one of those pills. They're still giving them out to this day, and they say, well, it's a lot less. We're only giving, you can only get one from a trainer, and at the end of the day, it only takes one.
Sure.
It only takes one of those pills to get you addicted, and that addiction and coming off of that, oh God, that was horrible.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
Yeah. So, what I found, I'm not going back. And all these people, they're reviewing the Cole memorandum right now, federal involvement in this whole marijuana deal, and whether or not they're going to, reinstitute a whole nother drug war here, because of what people are finding and what people are experiencing. It's not because this is killing people. It's not because the statistics are going up in Colorado and Washington that the government has a backlash on marijuana still. It's because they're going down. It's because health is better. Less people are dying. And
crime is going down.
Crime is down. Teen use is down. All these statistics that are crushing all of these ridiculous reefer madness claims. And I think that our government is very well informed on what this plant can truly do. And I just, have to speak my truth in hopes that, these other people listen, because it's not just CTE. I mean, my wife's skin cancer, she doesn't have to go get her skin cancers cut out anymore. For the last 13 years of our 15-year marriage, the first 13, she's had to get skin cancers cut out every year. And now she doesn't. She puts a little THC oil on the skin cancers, and they fall off in like 4 days.
That's
and these
amazing.
are one. It is. It's the true medicine. It is curing illness and sickness and injury, and dealing with injury and mental disorders. I mean, we're given too many pills in this country, and we fail to realize while we're talking about these guns and all this, ammunition and whatever, bump stocks and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, every one of these assholes that has committed these crimes or these mass shootings, they're tied to pharmaceuticals, heavy use of pharmaceuticals, and real damaging and hard pharmaceuticals that I know personally create unbelievable side effects that fucking make you think unbelievable things. And when you're suicidal and homicidal and manic and just out of control, and you got a bad brain injury at the same time, that's a deadly combo for disaster. Exactly.
That's a deadly combo.
I mean, the police should be carrying around joints, and when they show up to situations, throw a joint at that guy and tell him to sit down and smoke that for a minute. I guarantee you every one of these situations would be resolved quickly and everybody'd go away fine.
I'm with you. You're preaching to the choir on this one. This is one subject that you and I really, really agree on at this point.
Well, hopefully North Carolina will catch on. And
they're way behind. Geez, they had a problem with simple painkillers and things like that. Like they've had a lot of problems here with drugs in this state. So I don't know. I think we're still a ways away. But to my knowledge, I believe it's legalized in 29 states now. California actually just started 3 days ago.
Yeah, no, it's all going to fall. I mean, at
Yeah.
the end of the day, money talks, and the money that's being made. The Denver Broncos, go back to the sporting aspect of it. Nobody wanted to put their name on the stadium, and two cannabis companies stepped up to do so. And then all of a sudden, they found somebody to sponsor the stadium.
Right.
This is going to take over. There's people are making way too much money. I started a CBD company because of my experience with it. CBD is 50 state legal. People don't even know that. As long as the THC is extracted, and that's what I built the product on. And I'm this is just helping so many people, and that's why I did it, because everybody's like, well, what do I use? What can I do? And I went around and I told my story to all these places and all these conventions and schools and everywhere. And I found the right people. I've been to Colorado. I went to the places where, that's where we come from as athletes. We don't just take things for granted. We turn over every stone. And that's what I've done with this. And I've found the people doing these things that are just so amazing with this plant. And what they're making is just curing everybody, man. I mean, CBD is available in North Carolina, and every person needs to know it.
Yep.
And get it shipped to your house and experience what cannabis can do for you just on the base level. And then you understand what the entourage effect is and how THC can supercharge that effect, and get your life back. This country will be healed by cannabis. It will save football. It will save America. Our country is being run. Everything is being run by crazy brains, and cannabis fixes that. Our government has proven that by placing a neuroprotective patent on it.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely one of the drugs of the future. But along with everything else in this country,
it's not a drug.
No,
that's the problem.
It's not a drug, but as a way to cure and help people going forward, which is classified as drugs in this country. But
unfortunately,
yes, it is still labeled as
drug
that.
Addicts.
Yeah, exactly.
We've become drug addicts. You go to the drug store. That's where you go.
Yep.
You don't, and it's just absurd that people would rather that it can be sold to you in these ways. Drugs. You say drugs are bad, but you're going to the drug store.
Right.
Every day these people are lining up, and that line looks like a line full of zombies. And I keep going to these dispensaries in these shitty parts of town because that's where they make them go. Even still in California.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And they're the nicest people, and it's a demographic of people, from old people to young people to business people to the stoner pothead, typical guy, to the businessman in the 3-piece suit standing in the line, with your grandma, and it's awesome to see, but still very frustrating to see where we're at and how still far behind we are.
Yeah, because you go to California and you're right. Like a lot of these places are like these dirty back alley places where you got to knock twice. There's a security guard with a gun, and then you go in and give your information. It'll be nice when it's regulated and it's readily available without having to look over your shoulder before you go in.
Well, that's the problem, is the regulation. It'll be nice when they finally let this plant free and let the free market open opportunities to people that want to get involved in this. I've been hunting down licenses and all these things because I know what I've found and I need to reproduce it. But I can't go to a city council in Long Beach, even though I stand up there and tell them it saved my fucking life, and get a license for a dispensary or a cultivation operation. I can't go to the desert where they've opened it up, in Desert Hot Springs and Palm Springs, and get that license, because they've given it out to the typical cast of characters that they only let know about this from the beginning.
Right.
And everybody that's in this, you can't just freely go do it. You've got now decorated LAPD police officers that are being tied to major operations that are get the first licenses, all these fucking things. It's just still super corrupt and not allowing the free market and individuals. You're not going to buy your aspirin from some guy that's got a pop-up shop on the corner. You're going to go to the place that's nice. You're going to go to Walgreens or, get that aspirin.
CVS, absolutely, yeah.
CVS,
yeah.
Right? You're not going to get your aspirin at the liquor store. And that's what's happening here. They're not allowing the right companies to come in and do these things. The regulations has been what has kept it the way it is, and will keep it the way it is, where you only really have a few players capable to do this on that scale because of the bureaucracy that has been corrupted to give these licenses to certain individuals who have helped craft these laws and been involved from one dispensary on January 1st, the people voted for legal marijuana in California, and there was only one legally licensed dispensary open January 1st.
And that line was intense, wasn't it?
It's going to never end. And then they opened up what? Oh, well, at the end of the week, we'll have 3 more. Well, you gave but there's 900 illegal dispensaries in Los Angeles alone.
Right.
So, it's going to be a joke. This needs to be nationalized. Need to let the free market decide. You're not going to go buy your weed from some crappy operator. You're going to go to places like Vegas and go to places like Shango, which is a 50,000 square foot dispensary and cultivation operation that is meticulous. And you're getting a premium product that is going to be beneficial to your health and not have residual side effects. If you don't have any money, you can still go and find a good person that knows what they're doing, that's just growing it in their backyard. No,
sure. Yeah, there's plenty of those up and down the coast in California.
If it was free, but it's not. And so you still have to go to the shady parts of town or around shady people who still have to keep this quiet,
Right.
And it's absurd.
Well, Kyle, I got to tell you, this is one of the most fascinating interviews we've ever had on Ross Patterson Revolution, and I greatly appreciate you taking time out of your day to be with me. You were one of my favorite players, even though you were against us on the other team. Your passion for the game and your passion for life are unparalleled, and I greatly appreciate you being here today.
Hey, man, I appreciate the opportunity, Ross. Love the show, man. Keep doing it, brother. The world needs people like us to keep pushing it, man. And we need more people along. People got to get woke, stay woke, and be woke constantly, because things are happening in this country and in this world that, there's alternative forces out there, man, and they're always trying to make that book come true. And all these crazy ball heads, man, we got to chase them out of town.
I'm with you, fighting the good fight. Thanks for being here, Kyle.
All right, brother. Who dat? Sorry, Dirty Bird. But good luck to you in the playoffs.
I appreciate it, sir.
All right, brother.
Take care. Wow. Kyle Turley, kids. That was one of the most amazing, intense interviews I've ever had. And look, that's the way he played the game. What you hear is no bullshit. That's not a player who retired and suddenly found fucking Jesus or a new way of life or marijuana or something. That's who he was while he played the game. If you go back and look at any interviews he did when he was playing in the NFL, this is who he was. He's not changed. And it's certainly, for goddamn sure, doesn't sound like he's changing anytime soon for anybody else. And again, I cannot thank you enough, Kyle Turley, for being on the show. I can't thank Led by Iron enough and Tyler Rainey for hooking this up and getting him as a guest on the show. And again, check out Led by Iron's apparel. Go to ledbyiron.com and grab yourself a tee. They're all owned by first responders. So not only are you getting a great T-shirt, but you're also helping some great people, some great folks in this nation. And we love and support our first responders. Thanks for being here. Fuck, what an amazing show. Thank you to Kyle Turley. And looking forward to the NFL playoffs this weekend. Stay warm, everybody. Good night.